Technology in today's world, a lot of people look at it as a set and forget thing. They set it up to the point that it works and then they walk away from it, like they just use it. The problem with tech is it is the furthest thing from set and forget.
Welcome back. This is Ryan. Joel's with me today. Today's episode, we're really going to focus on kind of what's necessary or critical for a small business to have. So I like fishing. I have a big client base. I make my own lures, and now I'm going to start selling them out of my basement. Like, what are some things? Get me started. What do I need from a technology perspective, infrastructure-wise, to make sure that I'm safe yet functional?
Sure. So honestly, it's a really loaded question because like there's a lot that goes into really having a good system.
Okay.
But if we kind of go to look at a starting point, for example, like a few of the things that we're looking at is, simply put, just knowing what you have, like understanding like what different applications are you currently using, like especially once it's more than one person, for sure. Like there can be things that you're missing, and maybe you have some storage device with all of your important stuff, or all of your sales guy's important stuff on it. You don't even know it exists. So there's nothing you can do to protect it or anything like that. So knowing what you have is a really big deal. Another piece of it is like technology in today's world, a lot of people look at it as a set and forget thing. They set it up to the point that it works and then they walk away from it, like they just use it. The problem with tech is it is the furthest thing from set and forget.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is if you're not constantly monitoring things, keeping tabs on it, like worst case scenario, manual monitoring. Best case scenario, automated monitoring to where it alerts you of any issues and also alerts you on a consistent time frame if it's working well.
Do those alerts or that monitoring, that will also trigger you to know when updates have occurred, things like that? Or is that something different?
It can, yeah, it absolutely can. To me, like let's say that you want to monitor updates to make sure that your applications are always up to date, which is important because bad guys are always trying to find ways in.
That's where my mind went. We just did a video recently on fishing. So that would tie right in.
It does, yeah. But it's the ideal monitoring is you get alerted if things are good or bad, so you have a pattern. So every day you're expecting that email. Like this is a more of a manual type of monitoring. But when things are bad, you know it. When you don't get that notification, you know that things are bad. Because oftentimes when something breaks, the notification that you get of saying, hey, something is bad, never comes because it's broken, right? But monitoring, big deal. Like we get into so many systems to where like a brand new client, whatever, they're like, oh yeah, we got this amazing backup or we got this antivirus or whatever. And it hasn't worked in a long time. So monitoring is a big deal. Backups. So anything critical, anything that matters needs to be backed up. Like it just needs to be backed up because what happens if it disappears?
When you talk about backups, are you talking just USB drives backups, or is it more sophisticated than that?
In today's day and age, I always recommend a cloud backup of some sort because it doesn't require you to take manual action. USB drive, most of the times I see a USB drive used as a backup, it's plugged into the computer that it's backing up and it stays plugged into that. Best intention is, oh yeah, we take it home every now and then. The reality is that doesn't happen. If a backup is plugged into the device that is backing up, it is no longer a backup because it's just as accessible. If you have a lightning strike, it's gone. If you have a security breach, it's gone. Really, the only case that backup really means anything is if you have a basic hardware failure on your computer.
Gotcha. So what else do I need?
Really, we touched about understanding what you have, monitoring, backups, a firewall of some sort. Especially if you have a local network. If you don't have a local network and you're just connecting to a hotspot or you're going into coffee shops, whatever, still having a software firewall in place, and really if you're connecting from anybody else's Wi-Fi, you need a VPN as well. To secure yourself.
Okay, so can we touch base on that a little bit? Can we dive in? All right, so I have Spectrum Internet, runs into my house. I have a router. Is that a firewall?
I mean, a firewall is such a general term, but no, not really.
Okay. What's the difference?
So a router is just making sure that anybody on the other side of that router has internet to where you can get to the internet. That's primarily what a router is concerned about. A good firewall, there's bad firewalls, there's good firewalls, but a good firewall, like, it is protecting the network. It's looking for malicious, like bad traffic.
Sure.
It allows you to prevent the bad guys from coming in. They've got security updates. Like, there's so much that a good firewall
And you can set it, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you can set it to different types of filtering. So you can kind of control what comes in and what goes out.
Yeah, a firewall, like a good firewall, you can configure to no end.
Yeah.
Most good firewalls, you can do web filtering as well.
Yeah.
It's technically not a firewall necessarily, the web filtering, but good firewalls include things outside of just being a firewall.
Gotcha. What other things what might get me started to just make sure that just from a top level, like, should I be a wired business? Wi-Fi, does that matter? Access points, things like that, like.
I mean, those are really just convenience factors.
Okay.
So Wi-Fi can work for people if most of the applications that people are using are cloud-based. Wi-Fi can be totally fine.
Yeah.
Now, Wi-Fi is always slower, more security vulnerabilities and so on than what wired is.
Yeah.
So for most offices, strongly encourage wired.
So if I have a network and I want to access it from home, I have to have a VPN?
As a rule, yeah.
Okay.
Like, there's new technology that isn't technically called a VPN that includes it technically.
Okay.
But yeah, some kind of remote security application. But normally, there's a VPN involved if you want to access resources from at home that are in your office.
Gotcha.
Now, a VPN is also used for security, to where it's not necessarily accessing your office, but to where you can connect to a public Wi-Fi access point, which is not ideal, but you can still connect, and it encrypts all of your, or protects all of everything that you're doing.
Sure. Awesome. Anything else there as far as from a hardware perspective that you would recommend?
I mean, it's technically not hardware necessarily. I mean, just making sure that you have, I guess on the hardware end, is making sure you have quality stuff. Like, the stuff that you buy at Walmart is oftentimes intended for consumer use, and it's made as cheap as possible.
Yeah.
The other piece, making sure you have security software in place, that it's monitored, that you have a plan for when things go sideways, because most businesses, if their tech isn't working, they ain't working. And the other piece is multi-factor. Like, anything critical in the cloud needs to have multi-factor enabled.
Okay. So I'm just going to ask you a hard question here. How long is this stuff going to last me? Like, I mean, I don't want to have to replace it every year. I mean, does the hardware last? Does the technology, is it sustainable?
I mean, you can get a lot of life out of technology sometimes, but the longer that you push it, the more risk that you have. So, like, in a small business world, like, 5 years is a solid point of, after 5 years, your reliability is going to suffer.
Right. So this is something I need to budget for.
Yeah. I mean, I always recommend it. Like, I know people that are running things for much longer than 5 years, but it's normally, those are the types of people that if something does happen, they're going to be down for a bit.
Yeah.
Because it will happen.
Yeah.
Like, they have moving parts. They have a limited lifespan.
Sure.
Something will happen.
Sure. Joel, thanks again for your time and just your knowledge and your passion for the IT world and the IT space. I'm Ryan. Joel, we're going to sign off here, but we appreciate you taking time to just join us today. And again, send us your questions, send us topics, anything you want to learn more about in the IT space. Joel will certainly put you in a good place, point you in a good direction. Email us at qa@logivisiontech.com. Send us your questions, send us your topics, and we'll see what we can put out there. Thanks, guys.